One, and we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Polygon Forest. I am Ubisoft concept artist Vin Hill, and I am joined, as ever, by the wonderful indie developer, Mr. Christopher Jarvis.
Hello.
So today we've got some stuff to talk about because some video games came out, and we've been playing them like crazy. So yeah, but I guess like now that we sort of switched around, we're going to be talking about our topics first, but I did want to give a quick shout out to the fact that we were last week on a different podcast, as you saw. Like we didn't put out episode 42 as usual. That is because we actually guested on a different podcast called the Pixel Pints podcast. So if you want to go and check that out, go and find us on there. See what them guys are up to as well. Like they were really kind enough to have us, and we had a good time over there.
Yeah, it was great fun. It was interesting, like getting asked questions by someone other than you, Vin.
Right.
And it was more of a, we just have like a chat and then what happens. But that was like, they thought about questions they wanted to ask us and asked us questions. It was like, I felt validated. I felt like
people gave a shit.
Know what I've got to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was nice. I enjoyed it. So yeah, check that out if you get a second. Have we got a link on a description, maybe?
No, I haven't put one in, but I absolutely will do, actually.
Yeah.
Probably, like, if you want to find it as well, you can drop it into the chat window as well. That might be a better way of doing it. But, yeah, so if you are interested in that episode, then go and check that out. We had a good discussion about gaming crunch and, like, what the industry's been like in terms of, like, the pandemic and stuff like that, and how we're working on indie games and things like that. We had, like, the conversation went a few different ways, but it was good fun. I actually need to turn my phone off because otherwise it's going to beep and go crazy every time someone tweets something. But so yeah, please go and check that out, but also give them a like and subscribe as well as us. Please like and subscribe to this channel if you are into video game podcasts, and also our solo dev roundtable went out last week too. So if you're into indie development stuff, then you can go and check that out. We had a good discussion with Sam, who is making awesome progress on his game. I was really impressed by how far he'd come last week, as well as yours, Chris. Like, you're doing all right, I suppose. You know, just
UI and stuff. You know, there's a lot of work for little outcome for just something to work as you would expect it. You can't ever be blown. Well, you can be blown away by UI, and I've seen some stuff with some people that is mind blowing. But yeah, I'm just trying to do the basics. But it just takes time.
Yeah, you should go to, like, now that you've like coded a little bit of UI stuff, you should go and check out the UI that's in Persona 5 in particular. Like that game, even if you're not into the game whatsoever, just go and check out a couple of videos of like how the UI like interacts and how awesome it is. Like it's one of the best pieces of UI design ever, like in terms of how the player actually navigates around and like how stylish it all is, and just how awesome it all looks. Like it's definitely a benchmark for great UI, and now that you've sort of got that top level appreciation of it, like you'll be like, Jesus Christ, that's amazing. Like, and just there should be awards for UI, man. Like, it's kind of nuts to me that the Game Awards doesn't have like best user interface.
100%, and accessibility, like, should be accessibility awards. Like
there is an accessibility award, but I don't think there's a UI one. That's the only thing.
Yeah. I mean, there are awards that are for. They're even like. I think Alana Pierce does like an award show that's just for accessibility games as well. So there's this whole show dedicated to it. But yeah, there should be UI 100%. There should be quality assurance as well, awards.
Yep, QA. Yeah, 100% agree with that. Yep.
Yeah, like Foley artists. Like they've got Foley artist Oscars, haven't they? Like, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one. Like I often think about this. Like if I ever wanted to do a different career whatsoever. The one career which I regret not sort of giving more attention to, which I probably should have while I was in uni, because I think I would have really loved it, was being a Foley artist. Because like that job just seems so fun. Every time I see like videos of people playing with like fruit and crushing stuff to make it sound like it's like bones cracking and stuff, like peppers and things like that, you know,
walking around in gravel.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always see that stuff. I'm like, man, that just looks like so much fun. Like I wish I'd gotten into that earlier or something, because I think I would have really enjoyed that career more than anything. But that's the one.
I think that's a lot of people's like second job career opportunity. Was this before or after archaeologist?
They're close.
Okay.
They are very close.
If Indiana Jones was a Foley artist, but on the side.
That'd be the worst movie ever, just so you know. That'd be the worst movie ever.
Oh, those Nazis, that was terrible, right.
But they sounded
Back
great. Let's get a
gravel
mic.
and the coconuts.
Oh, can you imagine? Oh, great stuff.
We've kind of gone off track there.
Yeah, I don't know what we were talking about. Something about... I don't even know. What were we talking about? Doesn't even matter. Anyway, let's talk about our topic this week, which, as you can see by the thumbnail, if you are joining us after the fact, we're going to be talking about review bombs and review sites and all that sort of stuff. So, do you want to talk us through this, Chris?
Yes. So the reason why I thought it'd be a good idea to do this topic is because Horizon Forbidden West, if you don't know, it's one of the biggest games out this year. It's probably going to be one of the biggest games of the year.
Yeah.
And Metacritic scores have not been kind. So it's being received well by the critics. So it's being reviewed well by journalists, but the Metacritic score is really low. And we can go into the wheres and whys and hows of how that's come to be, and whether or not it actually even matters. So if we go on to Metacritic, we can see that it is. So it's got Metacritic score of 88. Oh, the user score is now 7.7. Okay, yeah. So it looks like it's changed. So earlier it had a little red circle, and it was in a low score.
Yeah.
And what I think has happened, and what people have been saying, is that that's due to people that prefer Xbox over PlayStation logging on, leaving a review, and making it appear like the game isn't very good at all. On the other hand, I've also seen some people reporting some visual bugs that they've come across, and I believe you've come across one of those bugs yourself.
I come across a couple.
And so, on one hand, the counter argument is, well, look at these bugs. These are legitimate scores, so therefore the journalists must be wrong. So, before we get into anything too far, I guess we could probably combine what we've been playing, because we've both been playing.
Both been playing this game. Yeah, it's kind of hard to avoid.
So we've both got our own initial thoughts.
Yeah.
And you came across a bug yourself then, didn't you?
Sure. Yeah, in the tutorial area of the game, in the very beginning, I hit a wall, and Aloy looked like she wants to go and do a line dance or a river dance or something. I'll show it up on the screen as well while we're sort of talking about this, so I can give some context. Yeah. But like saying that, I don't want to. I don't know how can I say this nicely. I don't really want to draw attention to this, because it's, to me, this is not that big of a deal. Like in terms of like the visual bugs that are in the game anyway. Because like the way that the game currently is, the fact that I've only come across like one or two bugs, like this one was the only quote unquote serious one, in terms of like she got stuck in this section in the very beginning of the game of the tutorial, which was probably a rush section of the game anyway, for reasons we can go into later. But this part of the game, it was just she got caught in this corner, and she was just like, she was falling, but she was trying to put her feet down at the same time, so she got caught in this endless loop. So I had to exit out the game, then go back in, didn't hit the bug again, it was fine, carried on any time of day. The reason why I don't want to bring too much attention to this anyway, even though I'm showing the video, but I think it's important at the same time, is that for an open world game to only have that bug that has been serious enough for me that I had to actually close the game. I've had no crashes to dashboard. I've had no other stuff. Like, this is the only thing that has prohibited me from progressing in the game. And I did a quick reset and it was fine. Like, it never happened again out of like the 8 or 9 hours I had put into the game already. So with that in mind, it's batting average of bugs versus like the open world is actually incredibly low. The game is ridiculously polished if you put that into consideration. There's other open world games that are way worse upon release, way worse. Like, so like the fact that that's even brought up in this, like these review bombs right now, is sort of it's sort of ridiculous in my opinion. Like, it's not really, it's actually a massive positive to me that the game is doing as well as it has got as few bugs as it's got, like considering it is an open world. And when you take that into consideration, it's sort of bananas that people are even use that on the review bombs themselves. But
yeah, I've been playing only for a few hours. You're a few hours ahead of me, I think, or at least maybe 5 or 6 hours by the sounds of it.
Sure.
And yeah, I've not come across anything other than little things like hair clipping through hands and
visual
that
bugs,
sort of
right?
visual stuff that doesn't really change anything other than immersion. But on the whole, my experience with the game has been brilliant. In terms of bugs, yeah, I've not noticed anything except for what I've seen on Twitter. And you could argue that you find those bugs on every AAA game release these days, regardless of whether or not it's a first party game or not. In terms of in terms of the reviews themselves, we've got 2,159 positive reviews, 120 mixed, and 621 negative. So when we saw everything on Twitter blowing up saying, oh, they've got a negative review score, it's been quickly surpassed. So it sounds like there's been a bounce back from like positive reviewers. The thing that strikes me is that
on that point,
reviews,
before like you carry on, sorry, I think on that point, like Metacritic do actually step in at a certain point if they do detect that someone is being review bombed. But even then, like the water's muddy at that point, so it's kind of like the point still stands. It's just I wanted to make that point that Metacritic do have things to sort of kind of counter tackle it, but it's still impossible to know like which ones are genuine and which aren't. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah. Well, then now they're fairly similar. So the Metascore 88 and the user score 7.7. That's fairly universal. There's not too much in it.
Sure.
But what I think has probably happened is that things have been more come into balance. So it's probably a true representation. And when you actually read the negative reviews, not many of them are actually talking about bugs per se. A lot of them are talking about the story itself. So disappointing, repetitive, like cut and paste side quests. Really enjoyed the first game, but the second one, Aloy's really annoying, which is kind of interesting. You and me have both felt in some points that she can get a bit repetitive and a bit annoying.
It's like on that point, I think a lot of people are sort of split this up, and I certainly I'm looking at this in two different lanes pretty much. Like there's people that are saying that Aloy just talks too much, period. Like she like way too chatty in general. She comments on absolutely everything, all that sort of stuff. I'm not really in that camp. Like I don't really think she talks too much, like writ large. I think she just talks too much about certain things. So for me, when you're in an area where there's a puzzle, if she starts like the problem which I'm currently having with the game sometimes is that you'll go into an area and the cutscene like ends of her like looking around or whatever, and like within a half a second she's like, oh, I need to get up there and climb that ladder and get to that. Like she just ruins puzzles like straight away, and that
like
grinds
area-based
me.
puzzle,
Yeah,
area-based puzzles, sort of like exploration.
Yeah, so it's just like, okay, then why the hell is there a puzzle if she's just going to tell me how to do it? Like, why not just have that, whatever the switch is to, like, the actual trigger to continue on? Like, why isn't that just, like, right in front of me after the cutscene? Why are you making me climb up there and do this now if you've just ruined it for me? And it's a pet peeve which I have with a lot of video games, and it's the reason why I stopped playing the new Tomb Raider trilogy as well. I got halfway through the second game, and just every single time you got into an area, and that game is heavily dependent upon like environmental puzzle mechanics, Lara would just automatically ruin the puzzle. It's just like, why am I even playing this thing? Like there's no challenge. Like I'm basically a baby and I'm getting my hand held. It's like, oh, you can't do this because you're stupid. And it's just like, thanks, great, like awesome. Like, why am I playing this? So it's very bizarre to me that they do that. And like as I said on Twitter, I really wish that they had a voice hint setting in the game that you could just turn off. And like she doesn't do this. Like I would love that. Like I think it would make the game better. But alas, they do not. That's my main problem with the game writ large, and that's the only reason why. That's the only thing that's been negative about my experience so far, is that everything else has been amazing. Like I cannot fault this game for anything else really. Like that is the nitpick of all nitpicks I can come up with. But that in particular is the only thing that's really annoying me so far. Yeah,
Raphael's joined us, so welcome.
Hey, Raph.
I kind of agree with the sentiment there. Sometimes the talking instantly is good. Like if I've started to go down like the wrong way on a mission, and then like my companion that's with me is like, oh, you can't go down. That's not the way. And
Sure.
he's told me that straight away, which means I know there isn't a secret, because I like exploring to find like no pickupables, like resources and things. So I like to have a little explore, and also, you know, I did do environment art, so I like to have a little look and nosy around the environment art.
Oh yeah, you'll just stand there looking at textures for a while, right?
Yeah, I'll stand there looking at a car and just go, that rust texture on that car.
I used to joke about that to students and stuff, like whenever how do you get into game design? How do you know that you want to be a game designer versus like being a player? And I always ask them the same questions, like, do you ever stop when you're playing a game? Do you ever just stop in random environments and look at like the 3D models and be like, oh my god, look how they've done that grass and like how it interacts? Do you ever do that? Because if you do, then you probably want to be a game designer, or you want to be something to do with environmental art. If you're like diagnosing a video game to that level, then you probably want to be in development, because you're like really interested in like the nitty gritty bits of how they achieve these things to sort of suspend believability and put you in this world. And it's only getting better. Like I was doing that yesterday with I was just looking at moss for like an hour. Like, and you won't get this because you're on PS4. Unfortunately, like this, the biggest drawback more than anything is you don't see the moss on the floor. It's like whenever you put your foot down, like the little blades of moss are like between your feet, and you can see it, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, that looks amazing.
Wow.
It's just on Aloy's face, the fact that you can see like peach fuzz and stuff. Like, it's a whole different debate which people are talking about on Twitter, which is hilarious.
That's the whole thing, yeah.
But
what's the thing? It's like,
that
tell me you've
level.
never been close to a girl without telling me.
Exactly. Yeah, I've seen the joke. It's funny, but there was a line in the game in the opening as well where like the companion that you're with, is it Val? Val? Whatever his name is, I can't remember. But she was like, "Oh, I see that you've got a beard now," and she was like, and then they made a quick joke about this beard thing, and I was stopping and I was thinking, I was like, "There's no way they could have like recorded that and put that in the game within the last couple of days, right?" I mean, they could.
They could have. Something about whiskers. He says, "Yeah, I didn't realize that your whiskers would offend me."
Yeah, that.
And it's just like, that does sound like they got the voice actor to just come in and like record that.
It's like, look, we got this idea, Ashley Birch. Like, please come in. Like, we need one line. That's it.
Yeah.
Are you free? Like, it'll be worth it. I promise.
That'd be great.
And she's just like, yep, I'll jump on. Like, I've got my home set up. I'll just set up my mic, and like 5 minutes later, they've got it. You know, sort of thing.
One thing I did notice was because I reset the game because I didn't do time management and I had to cut the game short. So I was literally in the first area, restart the game later on.
Right.
But it's when you first see the blight and you go over to the blight and you like click triangle, I think, to interact with it, and you do there's a little voice clip.
Yeah.
And they actually have different versions of that. There's two different scripts, the back and forth between Aloy and Varl or Varl or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
So they've got the ability to change that out with different voice options, which I thought was crazy, because who would need to replay this tutorial again apart from me, who accidentally got his times mixed up and wasn't free at that particular time and had to like restart the very, very first bit. So I was impressed by that as well.
Yeah.
But we should go back to review bombing. So
yeah, we should absolutely talk about
one question I've got for you is Horizon Zero Dawn even being review bombed, or are these accurate, true, realistic, legitimate criticisms?
It is 100% being review bombed, without a doubt. And that is because, like, the blunt end of this, like, sorry to kind of give you the spoiler ending warning to this, not the game, but like the discussion, is that fanboys exist. And this is it. So Xbox fanboys are coming in and sweeping in and giving it zeros. And then the counter argument to all of this as well, and thing that we absolutely got to acknowledge, is that there's PlayStation fanboys coming in and just giving it tens. That's why if you look at the reviews currently on the game, like, they're either tens or the zeros. Sorry to break this to you.
There's hardly any medium reviews. There's hardly any mixed reviews.
There is no such thing as a 10 out of 10 game. There is no such thing as a 0 out of 10 game. These things do not exist. Like, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care how amazing you think the game is. Be your favorite game at all time. It doesn't make a difference. It's never a 10.
It can always be improved upon.
Yeah. It can be a 99.5%, and that is fine. Like, there's always something. Like, there's never...
It exists.
It's just, there's never a perfect game. So the 10s, all BS. The zeros, absolutely BS. And they both have a similar problems, is that they're sort of encamped in this sort of fanboy mentality of, I've got to defend my tribe and I've got to attack the other tribe, and like, Metacritic is the way that we're going to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, very
Here's
bizarre.
another theory: is that like none of the reviews are legit because only the press have actually had the time to play the game to completion. And how can you actually have a review of a game where you've completed a tiny portion? I mean, a game is different to a book or a movie. You can't sit there in a few hours and complete it. And also, most people, like, I didn't 100% like Horizon Zero Dawn, the previous game, even though it's probably one of my favorite games of all time, to the point that it's, you know, permanently engraved on my arm.
Yeah, you got the tattoo to prove it.
Got the tattoo. So I'm a big fan, but I didn't even 100% that. So my point is, like, should reviews only exist once you've completed the game, or like completed the main story at least?
Yeah, I've heard this discussion over the last, like, a lot over the sort of last decade. It's sort of come up and down every now and then. But should you be able to review a game if you haven't completed it? The answer is probably yes, because there's probably games out there that you can absolutely, like, know the feeling for the game in its entirety, like, even if you haven't finished the main story or the campaign. Like, if I play 1,000 hours of Call of Duty Online, for example, and I haven't finished a campaign, do I have rights to review it? Probably. You know, like, I could absolutely review some of it, and that would be valid. But the difference between that and a significant amount, which is obviously ambiguous, and that's sort of like what we're talking about here. Like, if you've finished a game to a significant amount and you haven't finished a campaign, you should probably still be able to review it. But to your point, and I think what you're trying to get at is, like, all these review scores, like these user review scores, none of them have played a significant amount. I've played the game a healthy amount over the past couple of days. I've played about 8 hours altogether. I've only just gotten into the area that is, like, known as the Forbidden West, right? So there's the intro, and then you've got, like, this part called the Daunt, which is, like, the sort of, like, tutorial area. And I've only just gotten into the actual Forbidden West, which is the big part of the map. I'm not even a tenth through this game yet. So, and if
I've still not even got the title screen. You said, like, the title screen hasn't even appeared for you.
You haven't even seen the title.
I thought I'd finished the tutorial, but it was only a couple of hours in. But yeah, you said that when you said that, it kind of dawned on me. I was like, oh yeah, I haven't got as far as I thought. But someone could play what I've played. You get to the spire, you do that bit, and you figure out what's happening, and then think this game isn't for me, and then review it. And I guess, is that legit?
No. I mean, if that game's not for you, then it's not for you. There's a difference between you...
it being a bad game.
Yeah. It's not a bad game, it's just not for you at that point.
If the review said, this isn't for me, then that's fine. But none of them are saying that, are they?
Right. They're saying stuff like, you know, this isn't to the standards of Sony's AAA quality, and, you know, there's bugs and like stuff like that. And they're all... and it's funny, like, most of the zeros that are on Metacritic right now, like, a lot of them are just... You know, they comment on, like, how it looks and the bugs that they've seen. Like, they've not really commented on the gameplay features, what you actually do in the game. It's because they don't know, because they haven't played it. That's why. And because they haven't played it. And it's the same for the 10s as well. Like, this is amazing, this is incredible, I've played 5 hours so far and it's going to be my game of the year, sort of thing. Then people are idiots as well. Like, they have got no clue. Like, no clue whatsoever. Because I could have said the same thing about The Last of Us Part 2. I could have been 3 hours into that game and been like, this is amazing. This is the best. It looks incredible. The acting's perfect and all that sort of stuff. By the end of that game, though, I had a very different tone. An incredibly different tone by that game. I was like, this is garbage. Like, I just do not like this game. It's gone against everything that I was as a sort of fan of the first game. It's got a lot of plot holes that I didn't like by the end of the game. A lot of weird choices were made in that game, which I just do not agree with. And I couldn't form that opinion unless I got to the end of it. So for a story-heavy game, absolutely, I do believe that you should have finished the campaign, but not for all games. That's the only caveat I would say.
Because obviously that falls down on, you know, just purely multiplayer games as well. Like, you can play a few rounds and kind of get the gist of it, and I guess you could make an opinion on whether or not it's good or not, I suppose. Yeah, I guess you played Battlefield 1, right? Yeah. So the World War I deal, that guy, and, like, that game is like 90% multiplayer, but you can play the campaign, and there is, like, some story to the campaign. But if you didn't play the campaign, like, could you still review that game?
and it's
that's a good point. I guess as long
you
as
probably could
in the review you make that explicit that what
Sure,
you have or
without
haven't played.
doubt, yeah.
If it's got a campaign, then But then if it depends what your criticism is. Like if you say I didn't like it didn't feel good to shoot the guns, wasn't a good choice of guns. I guess that could apply to both multiplayer and campaign
without
potentially. But you wouldn't know yourself unless you tried both. One of the solutions to this problem though is people have been saying with Metacritic you should link up to either a PlayStation or an Xbox or a Switch account to prove that the person owns the console and has played the game. So you can do a little check whether or not they've downloaded the game and played it. That's one potential solution. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there are solutions to the like the user score review bombs, and that is absolutely one of them, without doubt. I mean, obviously, there's libertarians out there that will probably argue against that and say, "Oh, it's against privacy reasons and all that sort of stuff." And I get that, but it's still a solution that we're talking about. If you signed up to Metacritic and you've put your own name or your own username on the website, then there's really no reason why you can't use your PSN name either. But there's sort of caveat to all of this, and probably the good thing as well to all of this is that nobody really reads user reviews anyway. So nobody really bases their opinions about if they're going to buy a game or not on user reviews. So it's sort of a problem that can be fixed, but does it need fixing, sort of thing? Do you see what I'm saying? Does that sound weird?
Does it even matter that games get review bombed? Because this isn't the first game that's got review bombed. Like in the last few years, we've had Halo Infinite got review bombed, Ghost of Tsushima got review bombed.
They all do. All the first party games.
All the first party games are getting review bombed. So it seems like it's just part and parcel of the industry at the moment. And it does seem like it's just come down to the fanboys and fangirls that are just,
unfortunately, so it's
saber rattling and just trying to do anything they can to diminish what they perceive as their competition. I suppose.
Yeah, it's their tribe, and these are the camps that they've sort of based themselves in, and then it's just very bizarre to me. I've very notably blocked the keywords Sony Pony and Xbots off my Twitter feed because I am sick to death of this. The fact that this has rised over the past generation over anything. And I think a lot of that has come from the fact that people really became embedded into Sony last generation, and now that Xbox is starting to come back out of the shadows a little bit, there's this weird tribalism because people are like, well, no, I can't buy two consoles, and it's why not? Why can't you buy two consoles? Why can't you support the entire industry? And it's just no, because I can only afford one, and that's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna and I will die on this hill. It's a very strange thing to me. I just I understand that people can't afford different consoles, but this weird meta sport that they've sort of created in the games industry of who's got more sales and who's doing better in the first party, who's got the better first party exclusives, and who's going to buy out who, and the acquisition wars as well, all of that sort of ties into this of the whole Sony bought Bungie but Xbox bought Activision, and it's this weird we scored a goal, and it's and
point scoring
that would be great if this game would end, but it doesn't. You're scoring goals in a match that does not end, and it's just going to get worse and worse, and it's going to get more and more sort of not violent, but it's going to get more nasty for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's you're trying to or it's more like people are trying to participate in a war that
doesn't exist.
Is only for well, it doesn't exist. It kind of does exist because
it does. It absolutely does. You're right.
But it exists between Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo, and they're the people that can influence the outcome by having good or bad games. And you're the user's review score and the user's flowing dirt in people's eyes doesn't change whether or not anyone's going to buy a game or not buy a game. It's the developers that ultimately are in that battle, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean it has a lot of victims in this, and the biggest victims of this are the developers. That's the thing I'll always come back around to, because what happens when you sort of entrench yourself into one company like these fanboys are doing, basically, they're saying, I am Team Nintendo, I am Team Sony, I am Team Xbox. When you do that, you're basically cutting yourself off from 2/3 of the industry, which is sort of bananas. And not only are you cutting yourself off, you're also cutting off the oxygen which the developers depend on. That's why people are advocating for Game Pass right now are like huge advocates for it because they have so much to play. All these new games that they never got to play before because they were either stuck on one console or another. And it's sort of quite liberating to have a lot of games to play, and that's why Xbox Game Pass is doing so well right now. It's not because they're bringing in new exciting games anytime soon. Not at all. It's very much to do with the fact that they've sort of opened the floodgates from all the past stuff, which everyone was cut off from. So there's all these like people that were only PlayStation last generation getting Game Pass, discovering things like Halo, Gears of War, Fable, and they're just like, how did I miss this stuff?
Undeniably great games, well received critically. There might not be few, but in that bunch, there's going to be something for everyone, you'd imagine.
Yeah. So like when I see these review scores, it just reminds me of the fact that I just feel really sorry for these people more than anything. And not just on this, like whenever, like the same thing happened on the other side of the fence as well when Halo Infinite came out. That got review bombed by a lot of PlayStation fanboys that came in and said, no, Halo's not allowed to be good. And it's just like that sort of weird mindset, that mentality is like, it does not belong in our industry. It just doesn't. Like, it's here, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't belong. Yeah. Like, these people do not belong. Like, at the end of the day, we're talking about video games. Like, these things are fun. Like, they're toys, you know? Like, they're premium products that we can enjoy.
It's entertainment that you can take it or leave it, you know?
Yeah, these are not necessities, people. You know? Like, they're premium products. Like, they're not like toilet paper. Do you know what I mean? Like it's bananas to me. It's absolutely crazy.
Some people would consider some of the games toilet paper though, but
well, yeah, because
this is the other thing. They don't actually consider it. They want to consider it. They want to hate it, but a lot of the time they don't play it and don't know, and they could be missing out on some great experiences. So yeah, it is a real shame.
Without doubt.
Does it have any effect on things like the share price or anything like that? Does it actually have any effect on the industry?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment we're sort of looking at this in the vacuum of Metacritic, right? So like in terms of the way Metacritic goes, like user generated scores don't matter whatsoever. Like they're just there. I don't even know why they have them, honestly. They're kind of BS. Like they never line up with the reality of anything. They don't line up with critics and they never line up with reality. I have never seen a 0 out of 10 game. I've never seen a 10 out of 10 game. Ever. Like they don't exist. I'm sorry, but they just don't. Like I always look for the 9s or the 8s if I ever was to look at those. Outside of Metacritic, though, there are areas in the industry where it does affect stuff, and most notably, it's on Steam. Steam relies on user reviews, so when stuff gets reviewed bombed on there, it actually does make a difference. It can actually really affect the game's sales, like if everything's got negative reviews on it. And most notably, like I think Fallout 4, I think it was, got review bombed like a few years after it came out. It was fine the way it was. It was like it had like 88% positive reviews or something. It was like pretty standard for like a sort of Bethesda massive AAA game. Mm-hmm. But then suddenly one year they introduced a new microtransaction system or something for the game where you could buy user-generated content, which had like been deemed premium by Bethesda, and then the user would get a cut out of that and stuff like that. And they introduced this new marketplace system. Got review bomb, went down to 12% positive reviews, something like that. Wow. Affected the sales drastically. And it's that sort of stuff where like there should not be that much power in
the hands of
gamers
that have ill, their intent is not for the betterment of games and industry and entertainment. Yeah, it's
tough, man.
That's interesting.
In a perfect world, I would love it if gamers had more of a say in this sort of stuff, but they have yet to prove themselves worthy of this sort of responsibility. And this just another pin in that board. Do you know what I mean?
That's the thing. We were talking about this before. It's like we none of us feel
Game Awards. Like we were talking about it then.
Yeah, we were talking about Game Awards, and like I don't post reviews ever.
Same.
And I feel like I've got some interesting things to say about games, and I think I've got a good grasp on what makes a good game. I've got insight. I've got background knowledge. So I probably am the right person. I want to be a games writer. So writing things out about how you feel about games probably should come naturally to me, but I just don't feel any inclination to write any game reviews.
Yeah.
So maybe I should change that. Maybe I should start. Maybe we should encourage people in the industry to write game reviews, and maybe they'll have more sway somehow. But there needs to be a platform to recognize that, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's the problem I mean, there is issues with even a critic reviews, in my opinion. I just like the concept of a score to a game is sort of like the more you think about it, the worse it gets, because every game is different. Every game like might be a 9 in its story, but it might be a 9 in its multiplayer, but it might be a terrible game overall. Like, how do you sort of balance that out, sort of thing? And I think like much of the time for the review critics, and I've spoken to a couple of them, and like when they talk about it, it's like you don't really, there's no systematic way of actually going through and trying to figure out a score based on the words that you've done. It's actually just an overall gut feeling that they've got, and that's how they score it. Like there's no, so whenever you see like 4.5 or something, it's just like, how do you get to the 0.5 bit? You know, like I don't really know how that, okay, like how where did that feeling come from?
Not quite a 5.
Yeah. I mean, I can get a review score for most games in my head for what I feel it is, but it's never like point something. It's always like, yeah, it feels like a 7, feels like an 8. This one's definitely a 9, you know? Like I have them gut feelings. So
I guess when it comes down to it though, is then when you start reviewing lots of games and then you go, what's in 7 and what's in 8, and then the ones that don't fit in either. I suppose that's where you draw the definition, where it starts to be, you know, divisible by more than 10.
Yeah. I think for most games, for me, I prefer like a 5-star system is probably my favorite. If you're going to score a game, I think like a star review is probably the best. Like 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5 stars. That's it. Like most games land in the 4 category. If it's a 3, then it's probably got some problems. If it's 2, it's probably a bad game. If it's a 5, then it's like, okay, it's worth looking at. Like skip the rent this month. I need to pick this one up. But like when you start going to half stars and stuff like that, then it becomes muddy. But ultimately, for me, it's amazing to me how few gamers actually read reviews. That's my problem with all of this.
Yeah.
People don't read reviews. They just look at the score and they're like, okay, that game is a 9 out of 10. It's good. And then they just walk away from it. And it's like, you people are insane. Insane. Like, how the hell are you not reading this thing and being like, they might have like all these listings of stuff like, okay, this game is a 9 out of 10. The reason why it wasn't a 10 out of 10 is because of all these problems which I've got. That list of problems which I have with the game might really annoy you.
With you. Yeah.
They might like really grind you.
I hate that. Yeah, I'm not going to play that game. Yeah, I mean, I've fallen into that trap though. I told myself I'd read reviews for this game, you know, for Horizon Forbidden West, and I found myself like looking at the marketing materials, and they were going, "Oh, you can like pre-download the game before launch," and I was like, "Oh, I could pre-download the game before launch." And then I just saw like more and more stuff happening on Twitter and the buzz happening, and I thought I want to play it before it gets spoiled, you know, on Twitter.
That's fair.
So there was that as well. So it's more of like trying to get ahead of the spoilers, which I didn't want, which I wanted to avoid, because either that or just turn off Twitter. But because I'm trying to get in the industry, I need to kind of be on Twitter more, if anything, engaging more. Sure. So it's something that I can't really get. You know, I suppose I could mute Horizon, but it's a bit harsh.
Yeah, I mean, like where does that rabbit hole end? You know, like you want to see other people excited about the game as well. You want to see, you want to watch. Like there's someone on Twitter called I can't remember his name, Shinobi or whatever his name is. Like the guy that always uses the Jurassic Park character is like Dennis Nedry from Jurassic Park as his avatars.
Oh, yeah.
He's constantly posting screenshots of games, and he is always super excited about video games.
Yeah,
and he's been really excited about Horizon Zero Dawn. You want to see that stuff. Oh, sorry, Horizon Forbidden West. We're going to continuously make that mistake. Yeah. So, I don't know. Like, it's tough, man. Like, gamers are crap, to be blunt about it. Like, they can be really terrible people. But the only bright side to all of this is that we're only, like, when we're talking about this sort of stuff, it's really only 10% on either side of the fence.
Yeah.
The other 80%...
And they're making the biggest noise, though. It's all the silent majority that, like, sit there and buy the game, really enjoy it, and maybe post it on social media. But that's not as quantifiable, I suppose, as like as a review score. But yeah, like I say, it doesn't really make much of a difference on these big AAA games.
No, I would just like my main takeaway for this discussion really is just read reviews. Don't look at the score. Ignore them. You know, like if I ever see a score that's a 10 out of 10, I don't read that review ever. Like because it's not worthy of my time, because it's like no game is a 10. So you've clearly really enjoyed this game. I respect that, but I'm not gonna take any of your criticisms or like for any worth, you know.
I've heard that about restaurants. Like, you don't go for the 5-star reviews because they're like friends and family.
Right.
You don't go for the 1-star reviews because that's the time that they've forgotten
haters.
something.
Yep.
It's the 3s and the 4s that you read to figure out whether or not they're haters or lovers or like just real people, and like the real stuff exists there.
Yeah, most like I think it's something like 80% of all Amazon products are like 4.5 stars. Like when you're on Amazon, you actually scroll down, and it's just 5-star, 5-star. Yeah, great, arrived on time, all that sort of stuff. 5-star, 5-star, 4-star. Okay, there we go. Now we're reading. I do it every single time. Like I always read the 4 stars. Never, ever, ever, ever read the 5 stars because it's just people that are being bothered by nonsense on their emails, or it's from the people that are actually like putting out the products themselves. Always read the 4 stars because we're like, yeah, it's great, but this was the only little thing I had a problem with. And it's like, that's where the truth is in that little but bit, you know, like that's the bit that I want to see.
The truth is in the butt.
Truth's in the butt. It's true. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, we should use we should just be using the restaurant method. I don't know why it's not taken me until now to kind of figure that out, but that makes total sense.
Just don't read 10 out of 10s. Don't read 0 out of 10s. Like, these people are idiots. Like, they need a job, if I'm honest. Like, get a hobby. Like, if this is your hobby, like inside of the games industry, then you need to find a better one, because this is not going to work out for you, boys. You know, like it's just not. Like, if you're sat there going, yeah, Team PlayStation, yeah, Team Xbox, like, get a life. Seriously. Like, you're not helping anyone. Like, in the background, these developers are constantly jumping between these studios. They've got no affiliation to these people. The people at the top, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, they all talk to each other. They're all friends. Phil Spencer has conversations with Herman Hulst. Like, if you don't think that they are, then you're insane. If you seriously think there's this weird sort of like console war animosity going on in the background, you're an idiot. Like, that's not what's happening. At the end of the day, this is the industry. If it's healthy, then everyone's happy. PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo are all making very different games. We can enjoy them all at once. We're allowed, you know.
We are, yes. Yeah, apart from that, there is that paywall.
Sure.
Like, I can't, at the minute, like, I've got PlayStation 4 Pro and an Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
I am, I'm actually blown away about how good Horizon Forbidden West is looking on the PS4 Pro, and about how not noisy it is, or it's not getting that hot so far. I know I've only played a few hours, so it could change, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to be in any rush to actually shell out for a PlayStation 5 just yet, just because there's other stuff that, being an adult, other things are more important, unfortunately.
Really I mean, that I guess that is the point to the whole, like, the weird initiative which PlayStation did go with at the beginning of this generation, where they were sort of laughed at for saying, like, Jim Ryan came out and said, yeah, we believe in generations, we believe in, like, moving on and going into the next phase. And it turns out that, you know, God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West were both, like, set for the PS4 as well. So it's sort of like that they have shot themselves in the foot, and you are the prime example. Because I think, like, if it was a PS5 exclusive, I think you probably would have crawled over corpses to go and get a PS5 to get this thing, considering how excited you were for it. But now that you're playing it on your PlayStation 4 Pro, you're just kind of like, I'm good for now. You know?
Yeah, it's actually better than I thought. Like, and this is the thing, they're shooting themselves in the foot, really, as well, because if they'd have made a crap job of it, like, if it had looked terrible, I probably would have paid for the upgrade. I wouldn't have gone, this is a bad game, I'm not going to do it. If they'd done, like, a Cyberpunk for the PS4 version, and then on the PS5 it looks great. But, you know, we know, maybe the viewers don't know, the games are made on the lowest console that's it's going to be released on, and then it's scaled up to the good version.
Yeah, you add little features here and there, but it's really like this. Like, Horizon Forbidden West was made for the 2013 base PS4. Like, that's fact. Like, that's how it works, and it's the same for our third-party games. Like, we always make games for Xbox One base model, which is like the 2013 Xbox One, and then we scale it up to Xbox Series X and everything in between. So, like, Scorpio, which is the Xbox One X or whatever it is, like, all of those consoles are all based on that base Xbox One version. Like, you can add little things, like in Horizon Forbidden West. Like, there's obviously upgraded things, like moss on the ground. There's the peach fuzz on Aloy's face, and like they've obviously got like the hero key light and stuff. You can add little things, but the poly count is the exact same without a doubt. Like we don't really shift that much between the different versions. It's just way too much work. So yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah. So I mean, and I'm benefiting from that, and PlayStation Sony aren't getting extra money for me. Yeah, unless they want to give me one, which is great, you know.
Sure, yeah.
Send me one if you're watching
for
Mr. Sony.
Free PS5, Mr. Sony. Oh, what would he look like? You know.
Oh, I don't know. That would be interesting.
Yep.
It'd probably be be a fanboy, wouldn't it? It look like a.
Oh yeah, like the meme that's going around with the hat, and he's just crying all the time. Apparently, that's what Sony fanboys look like. Same as Xbox, as they put it. I just honestly, I've like the older I get, like the more I hate fanboys. Like I just the second I detect it on Twitter, if I see anything, if I see the ponies are ... I just block instantly. I don't even think about it. I'm done with it. Like I really, if I see any of it show up my feed, like I'm trying to teach the Twitter algorithm, this is not cool. Like just because I've got Xbox and PlayStation sort of listed in topics that I want to see, it doesn't mean I want to see the toxic fanboys. I just don't. Like I've got no interest, and we need to really fight back against like the Twitter algorithms for this sort of stuff. Otherwise, it's just going to get worse. Because Twitter is very much designed to polarize people, and this is the perfect way to do it. And it's annoying as hell. And I wish people would just go away with that crap because it's annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. So key message: gamers be better. Do better, gamers. You know, you're just shouting into the void.
It's video games, man.
Hearing back your own
video
echo.
games. I just don't. I mean, you push buttons and you get entertainment out of them. That's it. Like you do not need to be fighting over this. Like you just don't.
Yeah, they're feel good machines. They're
escapism machines.
Experience machines.
Yeah.
And people have a problem with which shape your one is. At
Pretty
the
much.
End of the day is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, and they haven't really got that much of a problem with it because all these companies are buying out from each other as well. So the fact that Spyro and Crash Bandicoot is now owned by Xbox, and Bungie, the people that made Halo, is owned by PlayStation. Like this is the world that we live in. So if you've got a problem with the other side, then you technically got a problem with yourself constantly because we're constantly switching sides. So like, what is the problem here? Like it's you ultimately. Like this is your problem. Like not you, Chris, but gamers. Like. Talking to them, not you.
Talking to them that way or that way.
That way or that way. Yeah, not you.
Or look, like point down the camera because I'll be watching.
Yeah, you.
It's you.
God damn it, you. Yeah, I just don't be a fanboy. I mean, keep an open mind. You know what I mean? Like unless because fanboys just like the problem which I have with fanboys more than anything is that they will perpetuate lies outwards. Like I have a real problem with Nintendo fanboys in particular because they just constantly lie about how well certain things are doing or how awesome a certain game is or how unique some games are when they're really not, because newsflash, Nintendo make a lot of IP which they reuse ideas over and over again and have been for the last 30 years.
Like the Kirby game. It's
right.
just
it's still
Mario Odyssey.
Not saying it's an amazing game because they are. Like Mario Odyssey is like one of my favorite Switch games. Like I love that game. Like I think it's one of the best platformers on that whole system. I think it's amazing. But we do have to acknowledge the fact that how many times can we save Princess Peach? You know what I mean? Like how many times do we have to save Princess Zelda? Like this is not unique, people, but like we can be able to admit that and still enjoy the games.
Yeah.
And that's where I have a problem with fanboys when they sort of
when people say, look how unique this
is. Unique.
Yeah.
It's like it's really not. It's just that's the only time I really have a problem with them. But like when it comes to review bombs, just ignore them, man, because they're full of crap. They're really full of crap.
That's good. Yeah. What else has been going on then in the world of gaming? Anything worthy you wanted to talk about?
I don't know. We'll have a quick look, I guess, because not much happened this week, apart because obviously Horizon, like a lot of stuff, is sort of trying to get out of the way with it. Apart from like one news story, which decided to just drop themselves in the middle of all of this, which you have to. I think I've got my own theories around this, but CD Projekt Red came out this week and said that they were dropping the next-gen version of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
Apparently, a lot of fans are saying a lot of these problems have been fixed. The game is ready for prime time. Like, the game's finally finished, sort of thing. And it's like I knew this day would come. That's why still to this day I've not picked up Cyberpunk. But now it's sort of come around, and people seem to be really excited about it. I'm gonna wait for the Digital Foundry review before anything though. But how about you? Like, are you
wait for the views?
Are you curious now, or?
I am gonna wait again. Yeah, I'm not gonna jump the gun. I'm gonna wait until people say it's a great game, and they might. I'm fully prepared for them to say it might not get to that point, because I'm looking forward to the game that the marketing promised.
Right.
Which, from what I understand, the consequence of that is that people are saying, "Oh, it's a great story game, and the story's good, and the narrative's good, and the gameplay's good." It's not like a sandbox game. It's and then people fixate on shooting guns into the sea. Oh,
what, for like the water effects, or
and like, oh, this is what happens when you drive a car into the sea. This is what happens when you shoot a gun into the sea. Look how much better it is. It's like that's not what makes a good game.
Yeah, I remember seeing this argument again, fanboys, between when people are in the market town on Halo Infinite, and people were shooting the fruit, and like some of the fruit was like not exploding or whatever, like it looked really static and stale, because hey, it's a multiplayer game and you can't have that many collisions in a multiplayer game because of memory issues, especially on the base Xbox One, which this game was designed for. Again, like, so all these people complaining about it, it's sort of like, do you shoot fruit in the game? Is that the main objective? Is Halo Chief versus fruit? Is that like, are the Covenant hiding in the fruit? Like, I don't think so. So this shouldn't be the, why is this an issue, people? I just don't get it. Like, it's really strange to me. But yeah, they fixate on water effects and like Horizon versus Breath of the Wild and stuff like that. It's always the same. Nuts.
Yeah, Rafa's put a comment on. DF's final statement was the only shame was the patch didn't come out sooner. It runs as it was supposed to now. All AI is finished. World responds as you'd expect, etc. So that's good to know. Okay, thanks. I
still haven't watched it. I want to check it out. Obviously, there's Horizon this week, and then next week we've got friggin' Elden Ring that's coming out, which I'm still.
Oh my god, Elden Ring!
I'm on the fence about that because I'm pretty sure that game is based heavily in Celtic mythology, and I'm really. Like, I'm a massive sucker. That's your jam. That's my jam. Like, that's the like, people are really into Norse mythology stuff. It's boring. Like Odin, like ravens, and it's been done. It's boring. I want to see some Celtic stuff. Like, and if this is like the battle of Mike Tirith and like the Tuatha De Danann and stuff, like if that is like the Celtic pantheon that they're talking about in this game, I'm in. Like, I want to do this stuff. Like, I'm really excited. So I'm hoping the reviews are good on that one. So. Yeah, it's going to be a busy couple of weeks.
That catalogue is getting bigger. It's getting bigger. So I'm looking forward to.
I've also got Dying Light 2, which I need to get it back around to as well. I put that away because of the bugs in that game. Like, that game's not done. But I think in a few months, that's going to be a special game, I think. Same as the first game. Like, I really, really loved it after it was patched. So I have all the faith in the world to get there, though.
Even like, for me, what struck me about that game was looking at just the mundane traversal looks so impressive. Just getting from point A to point B.
It's so
not the stuff that's in the marketing, just someone running around the map. Just like, so when you look at some gameplay, just like, this looks so engaging.
It's really addictive.
So yeah,
like the free running in that game is just like, you're swinging from lampposts and stuff, and then you dive onto a roof, and then you skim off that, and you go down on your little glider, and then you land on a lamppost, and then you jump off that, and it's just the feeling of adrenaline that you get from jumping from one point to another. It's just that is the game loop that you get sort of locked into, and you don't even care about the zombies that are on the ground. It's just like a massive game of like the floor is lava, you know what I mean? Where like you're jumping from like sofa seat to sofa seat. It kind of feels like that, but just like way bigger. And like,
so you're like a kid in a zombie wasteland playing The Floor is Lava.
Exactly. That's the best way to describe it, and it's a lot of fun. So like, once that game is a bit cleaner, I think it's gonna be something special. But they just need to tighten up a little bit, I think. Same as Cyberpunk. So, but it's fine. Got plenty to play. I'm good.
Yeah, there's lots to be getting on with, and it's. People that want to play it buggy, they can play it buggy if they want to. I suppose it's not the end of the world. We can wait and come back to it when it's.
Hey man, if people are enjoying the game, who am I the hell to say that they should be enjoying it? You know what I mean? Like, more power to them. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, that's all good. Was there anything else that we need to talk about? I guess we talked about what games we've been playing.
Yeah,
Was
I
there
mean,
anything else you've been playing?
what else have I been playing? Did I play anything else this week?
Did you play any Mass Effect? I've been playing a bit more Mass Effect.
I have absolutely not been playing Mass Effect. I'm sorry. It's too big, man.
Never mind.
I've got other games to play. That's the summer dry season game, you know? I'll get to it in good time.
Well, you and I are both very busy these years.
Years. Indeed.
So we might not have a dry summer season. That might be a get life stuff done kind of time.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on.
I think it's a joke that we're like both doing indie games and we're talking about games we've played. That's kind of a joke in itself.
Yeah, it doesn't really happen that much. In other news, what was it? Netflix announced a BioShock movie.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That's literally the whole statement. They were just like, yeah, we're working on a BioShock movie. That was it. There was no other details. So good luck with that.
That is a game that could definitely lend itself to a potentially good, it's a good IP for a film. Will it get messed up? Yeah, they all do.
Yeah,
there's never a good one.
It's never a good one. Like it's funny. I keep seeing the Uncharted movie that just came out this week. There's been a few reviews on that, and people are sort of saying, yeah, they finally made a good one. And then there's other reviews like, nope, it's just another garbage video game adaptation. It's just a really mindless action movie. See, I'm even doing it now. Yeah. It's an action movie. It's just like, it's not really believable. It's nothing like Indiana Jones like it probably should have been. And it's like, okay, I don't really know what to go with.
Who to believe. Yeah.
But
because because I saw there was the pirate ship in the trailer, and to me that story narrative with the brother and the
it's been done as well. Yeah, I mean, like we've seen that story. We played the game.
Oh, okay. I guess I just thought that would lend itself to a film.
I mean, it would, absolutely. But I think they've tried to, from my understanding of that film, I haven't seen it, obviously, take everything that I say with a pinch of salt. But my understanding, like from all the marketing material and what people have said about it in reviews, it's just like Uncharted, the best of album, you know. So like they've got the pirate ship in there, and they've also got like the part where Drake falls out the back of a plane. It's the cargo ship with all the things like, and he has to climb up. Like that's in the second one. Like, is there a train wreck in this one by any chance? Like, I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be a train crash in the movie. It wouldn't surprise me if there was, because it's just like the best of sort of thing. Yeah. It's not. I don't know. I don't know if they should have gone with the origin story, or they should have just done like the Nathan Fillion like fan movie that came out like a couple of years ago that everyone lost their crap over. They should have done that movie. They should have got him. Yeah. They should have done that. It would have been way better.
Yeah, it's too late now because he's a bit too old now, isn't he?
I don't know. Like, put him on a treadmill. He'll figure it out.
Or just do an older Drake. I think the character can be young or old.
Without that, I mean, did it with Star Wars, right? Why not? Like, do a couple of movies with Nathan Fillion in, and then go back, and then do the Tom Holland stuff. Like, to start off with this, it was sort of weird, but I don't know. What the hell?
It sounds like this was like one of those things where Tom Holland's got all this money, he's got sway, he can be a producer, and this is the film he wanted to make, and which is fair enough.
Yeah, more power to him.
It's not like this. The story should be, this amazing scriptwriter loves this IP, and this is the amazing script they've made. That's how they should get made. It shouldn't be, how do we make money out of this IP? It should be, who loves this IP enough to make a great script, and that would do well.
Yeah. Speaking of
it never is.
Speaking of IPs, that should probably get the love that they deserve. The Halo Infinite, the Halo TV show series. It's been reported that Master Chief's face will get shown in the series.
Oh. What are they playing at?
My reaction was the same. Yeah. There should have been like, maybe at the end, like Mandalorian style, you know.
Yeah,
like, that's what they should have done.
Like the end of season 1, fine.
Yeah.
But come on, man.
For a quick glimpse, like he has a hard battle, he's walking out the smoke and stuff, and he finally just stops and he just takes his helmet off, and it's like he's all beat up and he's like...
And it's Tom Hanks.
Right. I would watch that. That'd be great. Yeah, man. Or Tom Cruise again, you know.
Or Tom Cruise again. And the joke is that the Master Chief is like 7 foot tall.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, well, they'll never get it right. But I almost it's almost endearing to video games that video games can exist in its own sphere, so well loved, and that it's almost endearing to the media that film have spent billions of pounds trying to make it. Well, actually, they make the money back, don't they? They make a profit. So
without doubt. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
It's just not critically well received. It doesn't. It's not.
I think The Last of Us could be good. I think that's going to be the first one that might break the mold a little bit, because that sort of was set up like a movie anyway, or like a TV show. You could really stretch that out, and especially with the pedigree of the writers and stuff that they've got, the fact that it's done by the same people that did Chernobyl for HBO is sort of nuts. Like that's
and Pedro Pascal's just
he's a great actor. So it's kind of like they are set up for success on that one. So if they mess that up, then like there's really no excuse to mess
all
that
the ingredients are there.
Yeah, but the only thing I would say to the adaptation conversation, I've said this before, is just like the whole, like I kind of believe that the reason why video game adaptations are bad is because most of video games are kind of poorly written anyway, because they're not really designed for that sort of medium. So like when the trailer came out for the new Resident Evil movie, if you go and watch that, it is horrific. Like in terms of like, if you watch the trailer, it looks bad, like really cheesily bad. And you're just looking at it like, man, it just feels like a B-tier movie. Like it's not, this isn't good. But then if you stop and you actually go and look at the quality of Resident Evil 1, the quality of the voice acting, the quality of the writing, if you go and look at all of that sort of stuff and you compare it to the movie, it's like they actually nailed it pretty well. Like it's actually really, it's a perfect game adaptation if you think about it. A lot of the shots are like shot for shot. Like the way that the zombie like looks around over his shoulder looks just like the game. If you want a good piece of evidence to say why that movie sucked, go and watch the intro, like FMV for the original Resident Evil game. It is hilarious, like really bad. Like it's comical how terrible it is, and the movie is 10 times better. So like, we sort of had to have an imagination back in the day for these games, and we sort of imagined what the movie could be, and that imagination, like that image that we had in our head is the standard that we hold these movies to, and not the actual games themselves which they're based on. So it's very weird disconnect that we've got, and it's like I would argue that the reason these movies are so terrible is because the source material wasn't that great. Sorry to be like horrible about it, and people are going to be like, what are you talking about? It's amazing. But yeah, it's like the original Resident Evil is hilarious. Like it's really funny. Like go and watch it. Like nostalgia has been very kind to that game. It's really not good.
Yeah. Well, is there an IP that you think could be utilized for film or TV that hasn't been, that is more suited to it than others?
I mean, over the conversations I've had over the years about this topic, I've always said like The Last of Us would probably be the one that would sort of push through that more than anything. I don't know. I mean, there's been a couple of not bad ones. Like the Prince of Persia adaptation wasn't terrible. Like that could have been way worse. The one with Jake Gyllenhaal, like his British accent is god awful. Don't get me wrong, but it's not bad. Like it actually sticks to the game.
Okay.
And the Silent Hill movie. That's another one. I think that was actually pretty well done, considering what they had to work with. Like the original Silent Hill, like the quality is about on par with the movie.
Yeah.
But in terms for the future, that's a great question.
Do you think Mass Effect could be any good? Like, no? Because I was thinking like Star Trek, you got all the races, you got the politics.
All right. Well, why do people like Mass Effect? What's the core reason they like that game?
Because you feel like you're a badass, like helping out the universe.
You've just said it right there. You feel like a badass. You feel like you're doing stuff. So if you detach yourself away from that, and it's just like some rando shepherd going through and being a diplomat for random planets, occasionally shooting an alien or two, it's kind of like, this just feels like the Mandalorian, you know? Like, and it could be good, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think...
Mandalorian's great. Yeah.
It is great, but I don't think you would get the same feeling as what you get from what you play with Mass Effect. I think that's a lot of the problems that they have with these games, is that the feeling of what you're doing as a character. I think people like Mass Effect because of the choices that they make, the dialogue choices they have to go through, being a renegade or like the paragon of like good and stuff. making them choices. Like if they're made for you on screen, if you played the game as like a complete renegade, just be like, screw you, dude, and then just shoot random people.
Yeah.
And you go and watch the movie, and it's like the pure Paragon state. You're just like, this is terrible. I didn't do this.
That's actually a really good point, because like the hero in an action film who is like holier than thou, boring
Right.
as heck, or like if you just have the anti-hero that just hates everyone for everything all the time, and they never have that third act of self-deprecation for the betterment of people and things like that, or you have that change in the third act, then that's a bad film. So
Sure.
So yeah, if you wanted to, you couldn't have a game like that, because you couldn't have a film like that, because it wouldn't. With a game, you want to get 100% in one or the other.
Right.
You tend to go middle ground, and the middle ground is often just a bit janky. And so if you had a film like that, I get that.
Yeah, I mean, films need certain things. Like, it's same with books. You need a main conflict that you're going through. You need a goal, like, established very early on, and where it's going. A lot of games are kind of messy with that, because they're kind of like the goals change and evolve, and they sort of go different ways. We're getting better at it. So, like, with The Last of Us, it's literally, we need to get Ellie to the Fireflies because she's immune, and she might be the cure for all humanity. Simple goal, A to Z. Same with Lord of the Rings, right? Frodo needs to destroy the ring. He's got the ring. Go that way. It's easy. Video games aren't that simple sometimes. Like, they're very messy because, like, the objectives change, or for whatever reason. We are getting better at it, but I think for the most part, we're still... And I don't think we should fix it, because it works in video games. But when you're adapting it to screen, you have to sort of find a conflict, like sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to do, and you need to find the right villain, and you need to write new characters in to sort of punch up the dialogue. Like someone said to me once, what would you do if they made an eco movie? And I was like, that would be the worst thing in human history. Like, it'd be awful. It'd be terrible.
Hand-holding film.
Quite literally.
Literally.
Right. It would make a good comic, I think. I think it would make a really great comic. Like, without any text bubbles. It's just, like, images or whatever. But, I just... and, like, there's still talk about the Shadow of the Colossus getting made into a film. And that is just...
That's more than Eco. Yeah, I could see that working more than Eco.
But what happens when you start introducing characters because you need dialogue? And then it's just... Like, okay, like, we're 3 hours into this movie and we've got another 3 colossi to kill, Well,
have you seen The Green Knight?
I haven't. I do want to see that, but a lot of people are talking about it.
Yeah, I think that could be a potential way to go with that sort of film and game, because there's several sections of the film that just doesn't have any dialogue, and it's just reaction. It's just situation and reaction.
Yeah.
Very, very few very small amounts of dialogue. I think that could work. Yeah. So yeah, we have to wait and see what these writers come up with.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting better. That's the thing. We're getting closer and closer. I think things are going that sort of way. I think people are starting to listen, like writers and stuff like of these shows are starting to listen to the fans on a lot of this sort of stuff. That's why we're seeing success with shows like The Mandalorian. We're not just like trying to cash in on stuff anymore. We're actually paying attention to what people want out of these things. And I think like the cowboy sort of like, methodical sort of state of Mandalorian really helped that thing. I think we've sort of found this niche where movies are bad ideas for video games. They just don't work as a movie 9 times out of 10. But as a TV series, now there's where it gets interesting, because it fits the structure of like quest missions a lot better. That's why The Witcher works so well. It's because every episode was a different side mission, and it always had like the same thread all the way through, as like find Ciri or whatever. But like each section works as an episode, because it's just Geralt and the bard going through stupid situations, and it works really well.
That's why I don't like season 2, because he's found Ciri, and like the story seems aimless. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything that's driving it through that is at the end of the season that was at the beginning of the season. Just things happen.
Yeah.
But saying that, then the only episode that I did like was a total side mission story, but it was encapsulated in that thing. So yeah, that is very interesting.
That's why I think The Last of Us is probably going to do pretty decently, I think. But I'm probably not going to watch season 2 for obvious reasons. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Maybe they'll change it.
Wait till the reviews come out. Wait for the reviews, Vin.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah.
And then I'll review bomb it because I hate Naughty Dog and everything they did. I'm clearly joking. But yeah, we should probably wrap this thing up, I guess.
Yeah. So where can we find you, Vin? You're making a video game. You're doing the zombie, long gone zombie pixelated. What's your elevator pitch? Do the elevator pitch. What is it?
I am making an indie game. No.
Very tight.
Yeah, indeed.
Elevator pitch.
Now I'm making an adventure pixel art style game, which is sort of set in a 3D world, but it's all pixel art. It's sort of like a nod back to the old school sort of point and click adventure games, but it's based on a controller pretty much. So kind of like another world or out of this world, depending on where you're from. But yeah, it's got zombies in it. And you go through a couple of houses and you sort of root through people's lives. That's basically the whole game. But there is obviously a lot of other interesting stuff in there. It's a lot of puzzle mechanics and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's an adventure game. That's the best way I can describe it in its purest sense. But yeah, you
can find your progress.
Yeah, you can check out the progress on that game on my Twitter account. That's where I post all of that sort of stuff, which is at Hillfort Games. If you look on the stream, like it's right here as well. Like if you're not listening, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Hillfort Games, so it's all there. And I'm also on ArtStation as well if you like concept art stuff, which is Vin Hill Art. So all of my Rainbow Six Extraction stuff got released a couple of weeks ago. Go check that out if you want. Or don't. I don't really care. It's up to you. It's just pictures. But how about you, Chris? Where can people find you and your indie game? Give us the elevator pitch for yours as well, I guess.
Okay, yeah. So elevator pitch is 2D puzzle platformer, and the narrative is based on the Kubler-Ross model of grief, and it looks like you're some sort of amoeba or microscopic entity. So it's quite trippy.
Cool.
Is what I'm going for.
Very abstract.
And you can find... Yeah, abstract. That's a good word for it. Yeah, niche as well. Niche indie game. So you can find that on my progress on Twitter, which is at Acrylic Pixel. And of course, we do the roundtable every month or so with Sam Webster on this very podcast. So stay tuned for the next one and go and watch those videos if you feel inclined to.
Yeah, we just put out episode 4 last week. Sam made a bunch of progress, as I mentioned at the start of the show. Chris is chipping away at UI, as am I. I made little advancements, but it was a busy month for me last month, but we've got a lot more coming. We do updates every month, so it's sort of, we're keeping ourselves accountable basically. And I think it's helping. Like, it's actually a really healthy sort of system that we've fallen into at this point, because it's like crap. Yeah. Like, I need to work on stuff because I need to show something next month. Like, that niggling in the back of my head is actually really healthy.
It's like an artificial sort of community where you've got like your fans that are, it's like a, what's the word? Symbiotic relationship where we're getting things out of it, but we're also we're providing a service and we're getting stuff out of it, feeling accountable, and it's great.
Yeah, it's a really small community though, like 3 of us. But
yeah, three people
are
in the same boat.
It actually
doing
does
the same
work
thing,
quite
have
well.
the same struggle. Yeah,
indeed. But yeah, so if you are interested in that, then please like, subscribe, comment, all that sort of good stuff. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you can be notified when we do put out another episode, which is usually every single Sunday, like we are right now. We normally do it live, and then we upload to all your favorite podcast services. So if you are a listener versus a viewer, then you can find us anywhere. Basically, we're all over the place. We're on Anchor, so we publish onto most of the major platforms. Yep. But yeah, other than that, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.